to the Meeple Marathon. Today we're going to be playing through the tutorial mission for Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. This is the introduction comic book. You can see it's designed to look just like a comic book, and there is actually some comic book elements to it that we'll get to here in a second. But this essentially allows you to introduce you to the game and then gets you started. It's not everything in the rule book, but it covers the basics. So I've already gone ahead and completed setup here. It tells you a little bit about the various cards and then how to set up. And then we're going to read the little introductory comic book here.
San Francisco, 1937. We left the bay late in the day on the last-minute cargo run. My cousin Jessie came along to see her father in Hawaii. An art trader kept an eye on one of his rare collections. It was bound for a backdoor sale in Honolulu. His assistant and soon-to-be son-in-law was along to detect possible art forgeries. Not long into the flight, Eugene and I spotted something ahead. It looked like a giant eye made of light, and it pulled at the plane like a magnet. Flash of light, the glittering sea below turned into a cloudy valley surrounded by icy cliffs. As we circled back to search for the eye, an apocalyptic screech shook the plain. A primeval terror was pursuing us. There's another one. Yeah, they're dead. It's right behind us. We barely escaped. As we navigated the unfamiliar peaks, Eugene spied an encampment in the heart of a green valley. We decided to land and get our bearings. Thank God you arrived. I never thought I would get back to Oslo. A man emerged from the tent and introduced himself as Henrik Krag. You've entered a strange world, my friends, and getting back to Earth won't be easy. Almost every passenger from my plane is lost or dead. Can you help me find survivors? We will need to use your plane to get back. The monsters destroyed mine. There's a woman just north of here. She says she can make the monsters sleep so we can pass unharmed. It's our only chance now. A distant moon blinked through the haze when we set out to find the woman that could help us get home. But we got lost along the way. Some wanted to turn back. Do we find a path or gather our courage?
Okay, so at this point we would choose, under normal circumstances, whether we want to find a path or gather our courage. And so I'm going to choose gather our courage. I'm going to go with Moxie, and I'm going to assign Claire Smith to this this challenge. She's got 2 Moxie already. This is one of the things I love about Distant Skies versus Sleeping Gods, is that some people already have doubles of something. In the other Sleeping Gods, people had a mixture of skills, but nobody had more than one right off the bat. So I'm going to pick Moxie, but let's just see what the tutorial says here. All right, you've reached a choice with 2 challenges: Find a Path, Perception 8, or Gather Your Courage, Moxie 7. Each challenge is a test of one of the 6 crew skills: Strength, Cunning, Savvy, Perception, Craft, or Moxie. So this lion symbol that I had thought for a while might have been Wild is not. It is just called Moxie. It's a new symbol. This time, let's say you choose Find a Path. Okay, so they're essentially forcing us down this path, but I'm just going to see what would happen if I had chosen Moxie after we read through this. You need Perception 8. They recommend basically exhausting, or not exhausting, but taking away a stamina from Claire and Miguel down here, who they each have a perception, so that would be 2 perception. But I'm choosing a skill that is 1 less in total that I need to get to, and I only have to not exhaust. I'm gonna have to find a different word for that, but only one of my characters is gonna have to lose a stamina. This essentially means they can take up to 3 actions before they need to rest, or participate in 3 challenges. So this is not money. These are just really nice metallic versions of the stamina tokens that come in the game as cardboard. So in here they're basically saying, all right, you start with a base of 2, and then we would draw a card. It says to pretend, I'm going to move Claire off the board here so we don't smush her. It says to pretend that you drew a 2, and 2 and 2 equals 4, and that's not enough. And then it tells us to exhaust some of our equipment here. So our basic gear. So it used to be that if you had an equipment card like this, you would place a command on it, or maybe not. You would take the action until you got that command token off. This card wouldn't be able to be used. In this version, we have all these cards in our hand. They don't have to be splayed out or anything. We can shuffle through them in our hand as we like. We would take this and we would place it here in the adventure discard pile. Now, until we camp or rest, there's probably some other ways to get them back, but in general, until you take the camp action, which you have a limited number of them through the campaign, this is your timer, you have spent this card and it cannot be used until you rest and get it back. But you don't have to spend anything to play it. It just has to be in your hand and available. So it's saying, let's play this. We'll do the redraw the fate action. This one will be reroll your combat die. You choose one, and then it'd say, oh, you drew a 7 this time. You now have a total of 9. 7 plus 2 equals 9. You beat the Perception 8 test. I'm going to go for the Moxie test, so you guys can actually see how this works. So if I fail, I become frightened. If not, then I am successful. So we're going to flip this over here, and boom, perfect. So I had 2 Moxie plus 5 equals 7, which was the challenge threshold we needed to reach. If I had been short, I could have played this card and just discarded it as well to get 1 more Moxie, and I also could have played this card, but I'm going to take this card back because I didn't need to play it. That's not how I wanted to play the game. This is a tutorial mission, that's fine. I'm guessing at the end they're going to say, oh, take a free rest and get all your cards back, but at this point it would say, it says in the storybook you would turn to a new paragraph or continue reading as it states. Here it says to continue reading here. As we journeyed through the dark, a man in a strange blue coat emerged from the woods and beckoned urgently for us to follow him. His name was Azarius, who's down here. He's the one we hadn't accounted for yet. My name is Azarius, and he said he knew the woman we were looking for, but we were being hunted by ghostly monsters. Moments later, the creatures attacked. Okay. So it's going to go through and give us an example of combat. So I'm going to follow along this one just so this doesn't take too long. It tells us to gather 12 and 13. So we just looking at the backs of these cards. These are all the monster deck kept face down in numerical order. We're going to flip these over and place them like so. And these guys appear to be exactly the same. So if you have the combat board from Sleeping Gods or Combat Neoprene Mat, you can play it on here. I like to just put them on top of the Atlas here. All right, then you would draw a number of combat cards per player you are controlling, except you technically don't count Claire, or you could look at it as both players count Claire in their hands, because you each draw a card and then you each draw a card for the number of characters not named Claire in front of you. Easiest way to think about this is that if you're playing solo, you draw 5 cards. So I actually did shuffle this deck because it told me to during setup, and so this would be our combat deck here. This would be the 5 cards I have. It's telling me though it wants me to have the whip, the pistol, precise strike, and wrench. So let's see here. Pistol is the only one out of that. So let's get the cards they're looking for. Precise strike, pistol. Oh, there's 2 pistols. Wrench, whip, precise strike, and what was the last one? Whip, pistol, precise strike, and wrench. Oh, and it says any 4. So we'll do that one. All right. So formerly, you would exhaust a character, placing one of 4 tokens on them, and you would test their weapon ability against the defense ability of the monster. All of that's out. At this point now, we're all just playing cards, so it doesn't even really matter when you're solo, who you are considering. Everybody is part of this battle. But you do need to say, all right, Claire is going to play this weapon, and Ed is going to play this weapon, because synergy effects could come into play, and we'll talk about that right now. So let's read through the instructions with them here. It says, combat is played out in rounds in which each player plays one combat card on each character they control, not counting Claire Smith. The active player may choose to play a card on Claire Smith instead of one of the other characters they control. The combat round ends once a total of 4 combat cards have been played. Combat ends when each heart on each enemy has been covered. So that is very similar. The 4 rounds thing, or the 4 turns within a round and covering up the hearts, is similar to Sleeping Gods, for those of you familiar with that. So it's saying, let's play the pistol card on Miguel. So Miguel's down here, and our pistol card is right here. So it's telling us that this is going to do 4 damage plus a die roll. So let me actually get these out here, and these, because I jumped ahead. Each of these guys should have received 3 power when I laid them down. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is like bonus damage they could do, but bonus damage we can take away. So let's do that. And now we played the pistol. So Miguel down here, we would play it, and we will get a 4 damage plus the result. It's saying, let's pretend we rolled a 3. Here is the roll. And the only bad thing on here is a -1. That's the worst you can do. Other than that, you know you're basically doing the base damage. And this is saying you rolled the best. So we're doing a total of 7 damage on these guys. So it wants for us to play damage starting with the, let's see, 2 heart down here. So it's saying start here. So this would be 2 out of our 7. So we're down to 5. Then we would take away one of these here, and 1 cover the square above, and the remaining 4 to cover the center heart. So boom, there we go. 2, 3, 7. You see how this one has a 4. It takes 4 hit points to put, 1 single health dot on there. But another thing we did is that we filled in one of these boxes with this synergy token. Now, that symbol is carried over from Sleeping Gods, but now instead of giving someone your specific token, which gives you, that player, your little bonus, now you just pass them one of these tokens. So it's saying, let's give it to Jesse, who's right here. Now, Jesse can use these to play cards like, say, this one, which she will then be allowed to do this ability up here by spending that synergy token. So at this point, though, the enemy now counterattacks, dealing a base damage of 2 plus the number of power tokens on the card. So 2 plus 3 is a total of 5. So we would reduce then Miguel's health by 5, because he's got no block built in, no block on his weapon or anything like that. So he goes from 11 all the way down to 6. And we will continue on the next page. So now it's recommending that we decide to play the whip on Claire. So we didn't go straight to Jesse. They got me. So here is Claire's card. You see there's no die symbol, so we're not rolling a die, but we're also going to be hitting for 1, just 1, taking away a power token, and we'll block for 2. So it's recommending that as I play this on Claire, it's recommending that we place this one right here, which that hourglass effect right there would be an end of round effect. So after we've played 4 rounds, they would have, what is that symbol? That symbol is madness. Placed madness on us. So somebody would have had to take madness. So there's the 1. She takes away 1, so one of these comes off. We'll put that back in there. And she blocks for 2. So this person now is hitting for a base 2 plus 2 for 4, but Claire is blocking half of that, so she only loses 2 health. And we've played 2 cards so far now. Up next, we are going to, and see, we did not cover up a synergy token one of these little red diamonds, so no synergy tokens have been passed out. Player 3 now, or our third turn, is going to be Jesse playing Precise Strike, which is what I thought. So Jesse is going to play this card, so we would play it down here on top of Jesse. And Jesse is going to get a couple things here. She's going to get 2 plus her perception rank. So everybody's at 1 right now, but throughout the game, I'm going to be able to add these cards to people to give them additional symbols. And so this, you would want to play this card on somebody with the best perception. Precision Strike, or Precise Strike, makes sense. She's also getting 1 automatic block from this, 1 defense from this weapon. I guess maybe because she's at range, and because she can spend her synergy token, she can then remove a power token. So it's recommending with our 3 total attack that we hit this guy right here. So we're just going to spend all 3 to cover up that 1 spot right there. And the synergy token allows us to remove this right there. And so he's hitting for 2, plus 2 is 4. She's blocking for 1, so she's taking 3 damage. And then last but not least, it is suggesting that we play the Wrench as our 4th card, targeting the left Ghastly Stalker. And we're going to give it to Ed. So Ed would play here. He's going to hit for 3 plus the roll and plus 1 damage if he has 2 or more craft ability. Well, this isn't exactly the best card to play. This would have been better to play on Claire, to be honest with you. But it's the tutorial, so we're following it along. Because Claire has 2 plus craft. You know, she's the mechanic on the plane. So this is an instance where we should have looked ahead at the cards we had and, you know, kind of planned out our strategy better. But it's the tutorial, they must have a reason. So it's saying that we are going to pretend we roll a 0. Okay, so we missed. We didn't get the -1, which is good, but they're saying for the purposes of this tutorial, you rolled a 0. Well, what this allows us to do, however, is place the last hit on this gentleman here. Unfortunately, unlike Sleeping Gods, if you defeated an enemy, it would not counterattack. In Distant Skies, the enemies don't hit you between rounds. They only ever counter. So this person, or this Ghastly Stalker, even though it is dead now, it is still getting in its counterattack before it dies, which means it's hitting for 2, plus 2 is 4. No defense here, so we're going down to 8. But this guy is toast, so we can remove him, flip him over if we'd like so. And the only thing we have left is our person on the right here. At this point, we have played 4 cards. It's going to go through here and do all of its abilities that say have an hourglass. So it gets this ability plus all these plus tokens. So it's actually getting 3 more power tokens. It's growing more powerful with rage as it goes on. Enemies get more powerful as the round goes on in Distant Skies. It doesn't attack right now, but it's quite mad. So now it's hitting for 2 plus 5 is a total of 7. It also is going to deal 4 damage to someone. They suggest reducing Claire's health by 4. Okay, so she's really taking a hit, but that's fine. Now, each player draws 1 card for each card they played. So in my instance, I would get to draw back up to 5. So all of these cards now are going to go into this discard pile. So there's a discard area for everything. Event discard, adventure discard, ability discard, combat discard. Keeps everything nice and neat. And I do want to point out very quickly that the cards, the starting equipment cards I started in my hand, are different than the combat cards, which are right here. You need to keep these separate. They look the same on the back, except for they have combat here and combat here. So let me see if it's telling me is over. Combat continues until all enemies are defeated. You can play out the rest of this combat or move to the next page. Well, let's play it out. I'm going to give this a little shuffle since we had looked through it. And boom, 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 boom. Here is 4 more cards. Let's see if we can take this guy down as quickly as possible. that's quite a range there. So we do need some block, and plus Moxie, and let's see who's got Moxie, and +1 block. So this would be a great one for Claire to play, but I'd love to get the synergy token out and on her. So who can play something that is going to give us a synergy token? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to have Azarius get into the fight here. He's going to play Disorient. This allows me to remove 3 of these power tokens, so reduce this guy's damage output greatly. And remember, there's no testing anything here. He's automatically getting to do what this card says. He's also getting 1 block out of this. And so he is, what are we doing here? He's removing that, and then he's being hit for 4, but he's blocking 1, so he goes down 3. Next, we are gonna have, yeah, I guess Ed. He's going to reduce this guy again. Now, if this guy had built-in block, he would ignore it with this one, Hidden Strike, but this character doesn't. So he's attacking for 2, and he's blocking for 1. Now, what I really want to make sure I do at this point is get in a synergy. So I'm going to cover this and this. The main reason is I could cover this, but I really want to get that synergy token here over to Claire. So Claire is now going to get a synergy token because she's going to play Mad Charge. So she's getting 1 plus her Moxie, which is 2. She's blocking for 1, but she's spending this to get an additional 3. So, I mean, additional 2, sorry. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So unfortunately, there's not a great way to spread this around, and maybe, I don't know whether it was worth it, but she's hitting for 5. We don't have Madness, so we don't have +1. And she's going to take this opportunity here to put 1 here for 4, and 1 here, which is another synergy token, which is going to go to Jessie. And so Jessie is going to come here and play this one, which allows us to, you know, she had a synergy token. I'm just going to pretend I played it. So she's, oh, I forgot to take the damage. So this person would be hitting for 3, -1 is 2. So that Claire goes down to 2. Here we're getting an extra block. We're getting 2 plus 1 because this is Jessie. It's her bat, you know, it matches up. And then we're going to roll this combat die. And we got the 3. Nice. So 3 plus, this is 3 plus 3 of the base, blocking for 2. So 6 total. Unfortunately, we have kind of blocked ourselves in here and we can't follow through with the pattern, but I can do this. Boom, boom. He's hitting for 3. We are blocking 2, so she takes 1 hit. All right. At the end of the round, it would do all of its end of turn effects, but we've covered them all up. So these cards are going to go over here. I get 4 more. Again, I may not have puzzled out everything the best way, but I guess this is just showing you well enough how this is all working. So let's see, we want to get out the door pretty quickly here. So let's have, who is standing tall? Yeah, we're gonna have Jessie swings her bat and then she whips out the pistol. So she's gonna do 4 plus 0, that's fine, because all I needed was 3 to put this here, and she gets to give a synergy token. Let's give it to Ed, because Ed is going to use, now it would attack for, it's attacking for 3. She doesn't have any blocks, so she goes down 3. And then Ed's going to use this creepy looking card here. He gets the synergy token to add a die roll to this, which is 1. So it's a base of 1 plus his cunning. So 3 total. He gets to remove one of these. And this is plenty enough to cover this last box right here. It would get a chance to have its final death blow or whatever, but it would only hit for 2, and so he would go down to there. So there you go. And these would have technically be discarded, but at the beginning of every combat round, you're going to take these, you're going to shuffle up your combat deck, which is around going to be 14 cards at least, and shuffle it up and draw your cards from it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is a combat. So let's jump back here to our book. Let's get these out of the way. So these can go back into their numerical order pile. I'll do that in a bit. And we've got Azarius led us to the foot of a great boulder covered in carved letters and a crescent moon. There in the fog a woman stood, her face and hair glimmering with tiny stars. She told us her name was Mikra and that she was a god. We tried to ask her for help. Surely a god could help us get back through the portal to our home, but she silenced our pleas. The gods have grown weak since we weakened 8 years ago. Our power has only diminished. 8 years ago is when our previous game happened. You wish to return to your world and I can help you, but you will need to help me as well. The god Orphash seeks to destroy me. To survive, I must have the power of totems. We know all about totems, so here we go again. These special stones have been drained of their power and hidden away, lost and mostly forgotten. But if you find them and the right ingredients, I can rejuvenate the totems, regain my power, calm the monster, that guards the portal to your world, and defeat Orphash, aka the giant pterodactyl. I have a few dormant totems to give you, and Azarius can help you find more. He will know where to look and how to find me when you are in need. Now go. The portal to your world won't stay open forever. Once it closes, many years will pass before it opens again. So, what that's telling us is that in this game, instead of just finding totems, you're actually going to gain them as quest cards and then have to track down the right ingredients for them to unlock them or rejuvenate them. And it's going to give us some right off the bat, which is going to kind of steer us in the right direction. So we're now being told to retrieve these quest cards. Boom. So we would go into our box that we set up beforehand. That's all in numerical order. And instead of starting with 1, they start us off at, 17, 16, 15, 14, and then we're going to jump all the way to 128. So these cards are now part of our active quests. These are what are deriving our adventure. Let's take a look at them. We have Thrax Pain, Tear of Mikra, Fire Blast Stone, Shorm's Star, and then this one, which is not a totem. See, all the rest of these say totem, dormant totem, have a list of ingredients, and what you grab once you unlock them. This one here says, place this card face down beneath the top 8 cards of the event deck. When you draw it, turn to 98. This counts as your event card draw. Okay, I'm going to set that over here because that's keying off something basically 8 days into our adventure. These can just be set aside for us to keep track of those things. So we've done that. Now the rest of this book explains the basics of your first turn. If you've already read the rule book, you can skip this part. But this is a great way to show you guys how to play the game. Okay, now that we've made it through the tutorial, let's kind of go through what a typical turn would look like, or a round. So you're going to start every round by drawing 2 ability cards. So these, we'll just draw the top 2 here. These cards serve various things. Anytime you need to test fate, you're going to flip over one and check this number here in the lower right corner. You can also attach these to characters, giving them additional skills. So for example, if I attach this one to Claire, she would now have 3 Moxie for a challenge, and also then this bottom part here would become active. So she would get +2 stamina only on herself at the start of combat. Don't exceed max, which is 3 for everybody. Or this one here, you could spend a stamina to reduce the power of a person. That seems like a very expensive thing to do, but the main thing is getting these icons onto your characters to make challenges more easy. Because remember, you're testing whatever that number is, plus this number of the card you flip to exceed the challenge met. You can also discard these at any point in time to add an additional skill icon to any skill test. So you're going to draw 2 at the beginning of every round. You can have up to 7 in your hand. And at any point on your turn, again, if you're playing solo, this basically means anytime, you can turn in or discard any number of other ability cards to slot these under your character. So I could, if I say had, more cards in my hand, and I really wanted this card to go under Claire, I could spend these 2 cards, say, oh, I'm not going to need them, 2 cards. She now has a 3rd Moxie and this ability down here under her player board. If in the future I want to add another Moxie card, let's see if we can find here. I found one. Not only do I have to pay the 3 that would be listed here, but I have to pay an extra one because she already has a Moxie card with her. So I would have to pay 4 to add this one to her stat sheet. So you can load people out where they are like superpowers in specific traits, but it's just going to cost you more cards. And again, you're just discarding ability cards to attach ability cards to a character. Each character can have up to 8 ability cards attached to them, and you can discard a card off a character at any given point to make room for future cards. So you always start out your turn by drawing 2 ability cards. Then you're going to draw an event card. So you would take the top event card here and you'd flip it over. Ooh, and we have a hunting health arc here. So the health arc sees your plane, you must take off before it attacks. So this is telling us 2 things. One is what happens at the end of our turn if we choose not to deal with this threat. We're going to gain 1 threat and then draw fate plus threat, and if that's 6+, our plane is going to take 1 damage. So you would put just a little marker on here. You could put, say here like this, and then you would draw fate, and this all happens at the end of the turn. And so here would be 5 plus 1 is 6, so that would be our plane would take a damage in that instance. To get rid of this is an ongoing event. This remains in play until you move the plane. Well, I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. And once you move the plane, you're going to gain some of the whiskey. So we'll just leave that right here. Other events are just going to be one-off effects. Some maybe even positive. But this one is going to remain here until we've actually taken care of it. Now, as we are on the board, our character miniature represents where we are on the map. Our plane miniature, which is way up here, represents where which page of the map we're on, and that's how we move the plane. But again, I'm going to get back to that here in a second as we go through the next phase of a turn, which is taking your actions. So in Sleeping Gods, you were given 2 actions per turn, and to me it always felt very limited, especially if all you needed to do was move. Well, in this one you have time. So we have our stopwatch here that does need to be painted up, but that's fine. And you always starts here at the top, and you can see it also tells you how to start your turn. Draw 2 ability cards, draw 1 event card, and then this guy starts ticking down as you spend time. Once you get to this level, you can pass. And if you pass to the next turn, you actually get to throw this guy up top here, creating an extra hour of time for the next player or the next turn. Or if you get all the way here to the bottom and you spent 5 time, you have to pass at the end of that. So how do we go about spending that time? Well, the first way is to travel. That would be moving your character on the map here And you can go, anytime you see arrows up here like this, you can move up, and we would turn to page 11 and come in from the bottom. So it costs 1 time to move 1 space. Orthogonally, we cannot move diagonally. It's got to be up, down, left, or right. And if we come across an obstacle, say for example we're down here and we want to move into here, which we can see are mountains according to the picture. We're also looking for this icon, or this icon you can see is a water hazard. Over here, ice hazard, I believe. So if you enter an area with a hazard, you have to take 3 damage to a character you control. Again, if we're playing solo, we control them all. But there's going to be adventure cards that will gain, maybe even ability cards, that will give us the chance to either spend that card or trade something in, or whatever it may be, to bypass that obstacle without taking 3 damage. Say a life vest. You may be able to discard a life vest to get through a water hazard without taking damage. That's the travel action. That's how you move your character around the map here. And why would you want to move around the map? Well, that's to do the explore action, which costs you 2 time. So 2 time is when you would look at the number here that you're at, and then you're going to take the nice big thick storybook here. You're going to turn to that number and read what it is. It's going to be a challenge, just like we read in the tutorial earlier. It's going to give you choices, may have you flip to different pages, but essentially everything in the storybook is in numerical order. So 6 would be near the beginning, but 6 may have you turn to page, number 375 or something like that. But to enter the storybook and read through the narrative and go through all that stuff, which is the main part of the game, is to explore, costs 2 time. To move your plane, so travel was move our character, fly is move the plane. This is the way to fast travel from one page to another. So when we want to fly, we have to spend 2 time. We also have to spend 1 fuel. So let's just say, for example, here we are full up. We would spend 1 fuel to travel. Okay. Then we would need to decide how far do we want to go. Well, I'm here on Heinrich's camp, which is page 2, which is where we are. If I want to say go to Harkian Forest or Stormlock City, that's only 1 away from my spot here. So our travel distance would be 1, and then we would flip over a card. We already know it's a 5, so that's pretty hefty. And we would look here, 6 plus is 1 damage. If we had, say, flipped over this one, traveling 1, say we want to go to Stormlock City, 1 plus 1 is 2, our plane doesn't take any damage. If we ever lose all of our damage, we have to camp to repair the plane. And if we ever run out of fuel, we read quest 2 or gain quest 206. That is how you travel. At this point, we would then say we wanted to travel to Stormlock City. We would pick our character up off the map. We would turn to page 8 in the book, and we would find this symbol here. That is where the plane lands us down, and we are now here at the entrance to Stormlock City, and we could then start traveling and exploring on this map. The last action you can take, which is important to keep your plane in check, is to repair your plane. You're going to spend 1 time. You're going to take the number of crafting traits your character has. So Claire would be a good one for that. So she would be 2, plus, again, we're going to draw a fate card. Here we have 4, so that would be 6. And then we look at this little chart here. 0 to 8 is 1, so maybe we want to boost it to get to 2, 9, 10, or maybe we'd get really lucky and get to 3. These cards go all the way up to the number 8. So that's the repair action. 1 time to repair, 1 time to move from spot to spot, 2 time to explore, 2 time to fly. The last action you can take on your turn is to camp. Now, camping is a very important action, but it's also the timer for the game. So you'll notice on the back of your journey log here, you have a specific number of camps that you can take if you're playing a standard campaign versus a long campaign. Once you have crossed through all of these camps, you trigger the end of the campaign. So keep that in mind. You don't just want to camp every time you feel like you need to heal everybody up. But camping is the way to do all the things necessary to keep the game moving. Every character is going to get their stamina back, so they're all going to go back up to 3. So Claire here would get her stamina back. Everybody's going to heal 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I think these obviously got moved around here and bonked, but everybody would heal 2, and everybody could remove 1 status. So if Claire had madness on her or frightened or something like that, they could take away 1. But the last and most important thing is refreshing your adventure cards. So we saw the equipment come into play there, but we all have these starting equipment cards here. We can see Mikra is available at any point in time. I can play Mikra over here to gain one of those symbols. Or at any time I can play Eugene over here to repair 1 plane health. Or here's the first aid kit, 2 health back. If I have these ingredients, I can spend them to gain 6 hearts and 1 stamina back. Anytime I want to use these, instead of having to put command on them, I simply just put them up here into my adventure discard pile. When I camp, I get them all back. So it's like refreshing your hand of goodies in a way. If you are playing multiplayer, when you would refresh here, you would just take the cards, you can shuffle them if you want. You essentially divide them up evenly amongst the players so everybody has stuff to contribute with. But again, I love playing this solo, so they all come back to me. So camping is that all-important action where you can heal people, get their stamina back, get everybody back and going again. Eventually, you're going to need to camp, but remember that you only have a limited number of camp options to take. And that is pretty much it. We saw an example of combat during the tutorial. We saw an example of a challenge during a tutorial, and now we have discussed how to go about taking a turn in the game. Remember, after you have taken 5, you simply pass. If you're playing multiplayer, that would pass control to the next player. Otherwise, you're just going to reset the time marker. You're going to draw your 2 ability cards, draw your event card, and everything's just going to go back over again. I think I said this earlier, but just so you guys are aware, there is a difference between regular adventure cards and combat adventure cards. This right here, and on this side right here, we have combat up here and nothing up here for regular adventure cards. You always want to keep these 2 decks separate. So you've got your combat deck, which contains at least 14 cards, and then you have your adventure deck, which is just going to probably grow and grow and grow throughout the game. Other than that, hopefully this helps you get ready to play a game of Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. I'm going to paint up these miniatures so they're nice and pretty as we're moving them around on the board, and then we're going to be playing through some of the campaign on the channel. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, once again, thank you for watching. Have a great day.